Good. All right, I want to call the meeting to order. Can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Laird?
Here.
Commissioner Mill?
Here.
Commissioner Nicolason?
Here.
Commissioner North?
Here.
Chairman Friel?
Here. Can we do the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Move on to the approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda while removing item B for further consideration.
Second.
Commissioner Milne has moved and seconded by Commissioner Nicolason the approval of consent agenda minus item number B. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll move back to item B for further discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve Resolution 10-23, acknowledging community priorities for optional 1-cent survey with the amendment to add $34,000 for equipment tractor for the Natrona County Library. And then to make the corresponding change to the Opportunity Fund, which is also on Exhibit A to that resolution.
Do I have a second to that?
I'll second that.
Motion moved by Commissioner Nicolason, second by Commissioner North. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Move on to contracts, agreements, and resolutions. Do I have a motion to approve?
I think.
Oh, we did, yep, okay. All right. Move on to the public hearings then. And now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of Resolution 09-23, transfer of funds. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statute, rules of the Natrona County Commission, and other applicable laws. May we have a report, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Resolution 09-23 represents several transfers this evening. The first is from the balance sheet cash reserve in the amount of $4,956. That is going into several account lines as noted on the resolution, and these are for budget adjustments. In addition, there is transfers in the amount of $30,182 from the county attorney's various account lines, again, which are noted on the resolution. And those are being transferred into the Human Resource and Risk Management Department to the corresponding account lines per the Commissioner's direction. Moving on, there is a transfer for the amount of $113,531.59 into, again, various account lines that are listed on the resolution. This represents reimbursements and some grant monies received and some surplus budget monies that are being paid back to the state. With that, I will stand for any questions.
Any questions for the clerk? All right, at this time, I'd ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of the transfer of funds to please approach the lectern. Any individuals who wish to speak in favor of? At this time, I'd ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the transfer of funds to please approach the lectern. Anyone to speak in opposition? There being no one to speak for or against transfer of funds, I now declare the public hearing closed. Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve Resolution 09-23, transfer of funds.
I'll second that.
Moved by Commissioner Nicolais and second by Commissioner North. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We will move on to Taven LLC, doing business as Mile High Tight Ends. Do you want to do the request from being tabled? Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to remove from the table this matter, this application.
I'll second that motion.
Motion to remove this item that had been tabled on 3/21/2023 has been made by Commissioner Nicolais and seconded by Commissioner North. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I now declare the public hearing open for the application of new retail liquor license Taven LLC, doing business as Mile High Tight Ends. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes, rules of the Natrona County Commission, and other applicable laws. Do we have a report, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this application has been received with all the appropriate documentation. All the statutory publication requirements have been met. So with that, that's about all I have on this matter.
All right. At this time, I'd ask those individuals to speak, who wish to speak in favor of the new retail liquor license, to please approach the lectern. Could you state your name and address for us?
Jesse Macmillan, 1760 Glendale Avenue.
Okay.
Anthony Macmillan, 1760 Glendale Avenue.
Okay. Go ahead.
I don't know.
Sorry, we're new at this part of this stuff here. This is my wife Jessie. I'm Anthony. Jesse's the owner of Taven LLC, and we're a husband-wife team. We've put a lot of thought into opening up our own bar and grill. That way we can also expand our catering business to include off-site bar beverage for weddings and such. We got a unique opportunity, a beautiful building to open up, and that's basically why we're here. We do have menus. I mean, if anybody
like
wants
to
to
see
see our menus.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to see one.
May I approach?
Yeah.
I brought 5, just one for everybody. Those aren't the final. The final ones obviously will be in color, but I still have to finish proofreading the menu. I have, lived in Casper for a very long time. I've worked in the food and beverage industry for well over 30 years. I did attend culinary school in Chicago, Illinois. Started in this industry as a dishwasher a long time ago. Worked
It's
our
only
way.
one page. Oh, okay.
And like I said, my wife and I decided that it was time for us to venture off onto our own path. This is kind of a retirement plan and a life insurance plan for my wife if something was to happen to me. I smoked heavy for 30 years, recently quit. I think I'm in good shape, but you never know. And like I said, we just want to be able to show the community what we can do. We operated a food truck last year, did really well with the food truck, had a lot of compliments. And just thought it was be a good time to get out on our own and do our own thing. So, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Laird.
So I went up to the scene of where the building where you want to put this. There's been a bar and stuff in there before, am I right?
Yes, sir.
And I happened to talk to a couple of the neighbors who really don't have any objection to having a bar there. What they do have objection to is if it's turned into a, I can't use the name I want to use because there's ladies in here, but it's a bar where you're featuring women unclothed and pole dancing and stuff like that. And they said if something like that went in there, they wouldn't want to be next to it, they'd want to move.
Yes, sir, that's also part of our lease agreement with Becker, that we're not a strip club.
Okay, that's very important to me to know that.
Yes, we will not be a
You're just a
strip
bar and
club.
grill.
Yes, sir, and, well, I mean, there's going to be dancing, obviously,
Yeah.
customers and such. We have a dance floor, comedy shows, things
I
like
see.
that.
I
We
see.
are not a strip club.
So and it was interesting, I had a little chat with the sheriff about it yesterday, and he said there's been a bar there before, and it's never really been any trouble. I don't like speaking for the sheriff, because I don't want to misquote him, but he spoke in a way that would indicate it was simply a bar and grill and food, that's one thing, as opposed to if somebody wanted to go in there, because weren't you involved in one of these before? Did you work for Sonny Pilcher?
I did, yes, sir.
Does he have anything to do with this deal?
No, sir. Sonny kind of advised me on how to set up the bar and stuff. In more, we're not racks. Well, I'll just say that now. We're more like a mini version of what Sidelines once was. And that's kind of what I want. You know, the barbecue, the good food, good drinks, people having a good time.
How
You
many
know-
people will you employ?
Anywhere between 8 to probably 13, including my wife and myself. My daughter, my son, they're all involved with it with us. I do have uniforms. Everybody will be in uniform. Our bartenders will be in referee shirts and black leggings or black shorts. Bouncers will be in black jeans, black slacks, and a referee shirt. And then our cocktail servers will be wearing referee shirts and a mini skirt with a booty short underneath. So no skin, you know, no.
Hey, you're giving me your word on that.
Yes, sir.
I don't have any further questions.
I guess my question is to you, Tony, because you were up there, and Jess, you're the one you put your application, you put the application in, it's your name. So I'm asking you guys to be honest with us here today. I've talked to our building official, and I know that and I've talked to you about this too, Tony, when they were doing a walkthrough up there, Sonny was up there walking through with you guys. So to me, I'd like an answer 100% that Sonny's not involved in this venture.
Sonny is not employed by us. Sonny doesn't have any part to do with this except that he helped me set this up.
And understand the reason I asked that. How long did you work for Sonny?
This time around, 10 years
10 years,
straight.
and you were his bar manager, correct? You
Yes,
ran
sir.
it? So if you worked for Sonny for 10 years and you were his bar manager, what could you possibly learn from Sonny you haven't learned in the last 10 years? And why would he be up there helping you set up a bar? I mean, I think you would know by now exactly how this all works.
Right, it's the construction of it. That's where Sonny's advice came in for me. I've never, you know, I came into the bar situation with the bar already there. So he was helping me, you know, sink here, you need a cooler here, got to have this many seats for this many people.
But understand what I'm asking you is the last 10 years you've worked for him, you know where the sinks are at, you know how many seats need to be in there. At least you think you would if you're the bar manager, you would know all that.
Right. I have, you know, I mean, vague, some knowledge of it, but I mean, truthfully, and I know Sonny's reputation isn't that great, but I mean, he did run successful bars for 30-plus years.
Is he going to
So-
be working for you?
No, sir.
We won't be happy if we find out you're not telling us the truth here.
I'm being 100% honest with
Because
you.
I'm not holding it against you because you know Sonny. Believe
Right.
me. I know Sonny. A lot of us know Sonny. But we don't want to approve any liquor licenses that will disturb the other neighbors from the way that I talked to the two neighbors. They had no problem with the bar being there. They do have a problem with anything else being there, and that would cause them to move out of there, and we would have a problem then. And we just don't want any problems.
I understand that, and I don't want to do anything to push the neighbors out. I mean, one of the neighbors we're somewhat related to. So, but again, I mean, Sonny just advised me on how to get this set up. Got me a hold of his old contractor to help me build the bar. The rest of it I've done myself. Everything, the sales tax, all of that stuff is all in Taven LLC's name. We're responsible for all of that. Sonny is not a part of this, besides helping me set
Have you
this
put
up.
money in it already?
Yes.
Yes.
What have you done?
We built the bar. We just had the electricians finish up. We've had the sign installed. We've got about $30,000 into it so far.
Did you have to borrow the money?
I had some money set up from our food truck. I also got a bunch, well, not a bunch of money. No, I don't know what a bunch of money is, but I did get an inheritance from my grandmother a few years ago when she passed. And, you know, I mean, we don't go out and we don't drink and we don't go on vacations and stuff. We just work. So we've been able to save some of our money.
What food truck did you have?
I'm sorry?
What
Max
food-
Smokehouse Grill.
Really, that was pretty good. I think I had some of that one time downtown.
Similar food to what we want to serve up at Mile High Tight Ends. Simple, but good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Nicolason?
so I don't mind that you're consulting with people with experience in the industry in which you're getting into. But we have a duty to issue these licenses using our best judgment on whether or not it's in the community's best interest. You know, I would agree with you that Mr. Pilcher knows how to run a bar. But, you know, there were a lot of issues with racks. Now, you're presenting something that appears to be sexually oriented in terms of its theme when I'm looking at this menu. And just the name Mile High Tight Ends is suggestive. Now, I'm not going to take you to task too much on that. But with Mr. Pilcher and his reputation and his history in the county and showing up at your on-site with our building department, it's of concern to us that not only is that we know Mr. Pilcher's involvement at this point, but also moving forward and with what your intentions are. So are you committing to us that you have no intention in the future of running this as a strip club?
It will not be run as a strip club, no, sir.
And do you have any intention moving forward of Sonny Pilcher being a part owner in this company?
Not at all.
And is he a lender in the company
No, sir.
or to the company?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Nobody has any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of? All right, at this time, I'd ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the new liquor license to please approach the lectern. Could you state your name and address, please?
Yeah, Randy Elliott, 6263 White Deer Trail. I'm just clarifying what I thought I heard back there. I thought Mr. McMillan said that Mr. Pilcher had already put some money into the building? Is that, I'm sitting in the back?
No, he didn't say
No, okay.
that. Said Mr. Pilcher didn't put
I'm kind of curious who might be sourcing the money then, out of curiosity, where the source.
He said he inherited money from his grandparents and he had some savings.
Okay. I guess one of the main reasons I'm opposed to it, I really haven't seen much good come out of, look, I know Tony. I don't have anything against Tony, but I haven't seen anything good come out of the combination of Sonny Pilcher and Tony McMillan. And it kind of concerns me of, where this goes, what kind of, might not be, I think I can say it, strippers. There might not be that type of stuff there, but usually from what I've seen is a whole heck of a lot of crookedness. History kind of just states itself. You see a pattern there, and that pattern's been there for as long as I've known either one of them. Again, I have nothing against Tony. I do have a lot against Sonny, because I know a lot of the character there. And I think obviously, as you guys were saying, Steve, you saw him up there with him. He's walking around with him. He's involved in it. Pretty obvious. Let's just kind of get real with ourselves. Come on. I think we all know what's going to go on. I think there's going to be some stuff now. Is this hearsay? Sure could be. But the history of it, for as long as I've known. And another question, why is it that Tony isn't applying for the license? Why is his wife? What's it?
Privilege.
It is, but we know who it's based upon. Pretty obvious. But that's all I got to say about it is I've seen a lot of history of it, haven't seen anything good come out of it.
He said, Randy, that Sonny has nothing to do with it, has no money involved in it, isn't going to work there. He says he's going to have his kids work there. He says there's not going to be strippers there. Now, if he's lied it to us and in front of everybody in this room, we probably have a way of taking care of that issue.
Hopefully.
But I'm not a moral policeman, and
No.
if a man comes up here and tells me this, and he and his wife are from Wyoming, and they're telling me the truth, just like if you did, I would accept that. But I'm not a moral policeman, and I don't judge somebody because they knew somebody or worked for somebody either.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying there's history
Well,
there.
I hear what you're saying.
There's a lot of
I know what
history
you're
there that proves otherwise, so just kind of throwing that in there. I think there's I listen to the Pledge of Allegiance, one nation under God, and let's just get real with ourselves, come up here and hold up our hand and swear. Do you solemnly swear? Come on, let's get real, guys. How many times do you hear somebody lie? You know they're lying. Not saying he's lying, but when someone comes up and tells you the truth, supposedly the truth, is it really the truth? The history of the pattern of this combination has not been good. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
There's a biblical phrase that's kind
It's called forgiveness.
One of them's called forgiveness.
I know that one.
One of them is an Old Testament thing about the sins of the father being visited on the innocent sons. And I never liked that much. Personally, I'm willing to give a man a chance. But if he lies to me, then we have problems. I'm just speaking
Yeah.
for myself.
So it's I guess what I'm saying on that, Dallas, is, so if it progresses and you find out that there's some lying going on there, you just put a stop to it now that the liquor license, it's pretty hard to take a liquor license away. Sometimes you got to prevent something from happening by stopping it initially. There's too much history there, so.
Believe me, we have serious legal recourse.
Yeah.
And we have people that don't take kindly to lying. Not a man on here. You have an ex-police, captain of the police department.
know.
You have a deputy sheriff. You have people involved in law enforcement here. They're not easy to
Amen.
be lied to.
I know some of them, and I would agree. I just think that sometimes a preventative way of just basically stopping it before it gets there, that's just what I'm up here to say. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Could you state your name and address, please?
Ricky Elliott, 1515 Eastbrook, Casper, Wyoming.
Thank you.
I'm sure you're familiar with my family. And we swore on this with one nation under God together. That includes all of us, everybody here. I don't want to make my Lord and my God a hypocrite or a liar. So I'm just going on record as Ricky Elliott stating that fact to all of you. And that goes for the sheriffs and the police department because I love them. They put their butts on the line all the time. And I don't want to see them get hurt. And if that opens, it's going to cause trouble. So, God bless you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition to? Just state your name and address.
Yeah, my name is Sherry Martin, address 1210 East A Street, or East First Street, I'm sorry. I heard a couple things. I'm up here to give my opinion, not to reboot anything, so I think it's fair to say that when we have something to say up here, I'm not in argument with you. So my opinion counts, and so does the rest of the people here. I'm not here to argue an attorney, but I'm here to state my opinion, okay? My opinion counts, just like the rest of people in this room. And I feel, one, that the track record of RACs should prove itself. We put up with a lot of stuff in RACs for far too long. So when you say we can stop something because somebody lied, I'm wondering why it took place for so long as it did. We know there was more than stripping. We know there was drug trafficking. We know there was a lot more out there. I worked at the Reentry Center for over 10 years, and I can tell you without breaking confidentiality what prisoners out of prisoners said that took place out there. You won't convince me otherwise. So, again, I'm all about second chances. I worked in the prison system. I give second chances to every prisoner, every inmate that comes out. My son was in prison. So second chances is not what we're talking about here, Dallas. We're talking about a track record. And when a man I am a moral person, because moral decay in a society, in my community, causes all kinds of decay. And you have to be morally upright, okay? We're not talking Bible. I don't care what church you go to, but if you have a moral decay, then there's a problem. So I'm all about giving people chances in businesses. I'm all for that. And I worked in the restaurant business for over 30 years, and I know what goes on in restaurants, okay? Whether it's something like this or not. But when you know something in restaurant too, listen, I worked under Ted Clapp for years. Most people in here know what an honest integrity man he was, okay? Far different from Sonny Pilcher and far different from the employees that worked out there for 10 years. You have to say something about moral character when you put up with what you put up with in an environment like that for that long. Makes me question anybody else that wants to open up a business in my community. That's it. That's it. I have to question that for my children's sake, for my grandchildren's sake, for anybody else. Also, for anybody else there that might be struggling with drugs or alcohol, or prostitutes that might be struggling to make money, because I work with that environment. I work at the rescue mission right now, and I'm telling you, I do not want to see anybody in my community put as a stumbling block because of a place like this either. So, am I saying that they are going to open it? No. I'm not saying that. We could have somebody that changed their mind and we're going to give them a chance. But you have to look at track record. If we just go on and say, oh, we're just going to flippantly give anybody because they want a second chance, then monitor it, I guess. Then monitor it and be quicker, because we should hold our elected officials accountable to be more quicker to stop something so there isn't issues that continue to happen. Because in my opinion, a lot of things that happen in Iraq ended up being the new Tokyo massage. And we closed that down as quick as we found it, but that even went on too long. And to say that it didn't even include some of our high up elite members, even out there, We all know, when corrupt hits, it hits every economic status that there is. And so that is troublesome to the mothers and grandmothers, even in this community, to know that something like that. So I'm just saying, be cautious too, as well. I think we should be. And I think we should be looking at moral conditions in our community. Because if I'm held to a higher standard, so should everybody else. So yes, I'm all about giving somebody a chance. But if we're going to do this, then monitor it and listen to the people of the community when they say something is going on out there. Because I can tell you, we said it for a long time on racks and nobody was listening. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a new commission, you know what they did? They turned Sonny Filcher's racks deal down. He didn't get a license, so.
I appreciate that.
Racks, this commission stopped him from getting a license, that's over with.
And I appreciate that, and I'm sure the people out here do too. But what is Sonny doing in an establishment that is, I mean, I'm looking at what my community's looking at. I'm sorry, but if you don't have anything to do with it, don't have anything to do with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak in opposition to? Any others to speak in opposition to? All right, there being no others to speak for or against the new retail liquor license, I now declare the public hearing closed. Discussion?
Do the Roberts Rules of Order permit me to move for a tabling of this matter prior to the vote?
Mr. Chair, the board has not officially adopted Robert's rules. However, they would allow it.
So I think we need to do a little more investigation. So I move we table it. If this man is telling us the truth, that's one thing, because what I've heard is all about Sonny Pilcher, and then I've heard that he's not involved. But, you know, I think we can look into it a little further, Mr. Chairman, and be extremely fair to everybody who spoke here. So I would move we table it pending further investigation.
Commissioner Laird is asked to table this again. Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded, moved by Dallas and seconded by Commissioner North. Discussion?
My reason for saying this is because I don't know the two people who are applying. And I do know that this commission doesn't approve of racks, and you've already expressed that. But I just don't think that somebody else ought to be branded because of who he worked for or who he knew. There's just a part of me that doesn't fit that in with what I believe to be a spiritual approach to this whole thing. And I'm certainly not in favor of another racks. I would vote against another racks. I don't think this community approves of that kind of a situation. But I've been in a lot of cases as a lawyer where people have been accused of things and they were innocent of them. But the accusers were pretty strong and believed in what they said. I don't think anybody here has told an untruth, myself. But you have to separate all of those things because nobody else has applied for the license. We have a person who wants it. It's our duty to take a look and see by statute if it's going to harm other people or be a problem for other people. And it's another restaurant and bar, doesn't seem to me to be a problem. If it is going to be infiltrated, improperly and illegally, then I would vote against it. But I'm a juggler of facts. I'm not a judge of these facts as to and so my thinking is to take another peek. You guys are former investigators. Maybe you know enough now. What I'm saying is I don't know enough now to make a clear decision for or against.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Milne.
can I ask for legal a little bit? So the question, a lot of discussion about Sunny and Rax and Gentlemen's Club. Can we make a motion and approve or a liquor license with strings, with contingencies that restrict certain business activities?
No?
Okay.
Haven't we done that, though? We did that just recently. We told the guy he could have a license, but he had to get a certain building and get it all done.
That was different. That was not the same
I mean-
thing. That wasn't the same thing. That was an operation.
This county attorney, is there anything in the statutes at all that say that we can put a obligation on there that there can't be a strip club in there?
There's nothing that permits that. And, Mr. Chair, the board is supposed to consider, after the public hearing, the board's supposed to consider the license based on the evidence before it.
Mr. Chairman, I believe also, if you did try to deny based upon the Gentlemen's Club thing, you'd run afoul of constitutional liberties.
Potentially, that's accurate.
Mr. Chairman, I know this is it's a little bit past discussion, but I was just wondering if I could call the applicants back up. I have a couple of questions that I'd like to ask them that might clarify some things for us.
We're all right doing that?
Mr. Chairman, as a point of order, it seems to me that we have this pending motion to table it, and that the discussion's seemingly getting farther and farther away from it. So I would move the previous question on tabling it, and then if the chairman wants to entertain Commissioner North's request to ask some questions, it might be more appropriate procedurally to do it that way.
So let's finish this table conversation first.
I'm gonna withdraw my motion. I like Mr. North's idea. I think that these folks have a right to rebut what was said about them in this situation. I think that's what we should grant them.
Okay, so the table has been removed.
Mr. Chair, as long as both the movant and the second agree to
And they
that.
both have agreed to do so, so that's been removed. So now we're back to where we were with discussion. So if Tony and Jesse want to come back up here. Commissioner North.
What I want to ask is, I know you've applied for a full liquor license. Have you considered one of the other types of liquor license that are available?
Yes, and like what I was stating earlier is that I do have the food truck and I do off-site catering. In order to do that with bar service, I have to have a full retail.
Okay. So,
But it was considered, yes, sir.
okay, so along with that, if you did not get the liquor license tonight, would you continue to open the bar or open up the grill?
in where it's located now, no, and then I would be out all the money that I've already put in.
Okay.
I mean, the whole thing was, it's, and I'm not complaining about the process of trying to obtain a liquor license, but, to get the liquor license, you have to have a lease. You have to do an initial walkthrough. If there's any issues with the building, you have to fix those issues. I mean, it's kind of, it's a tough thing. So, I mean, you're committed to spending money without taking money in. On that topic, I mean, I've already put a lot of money out. Tabling us for 2 weeks is going to be pretty substantial to us financially.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that you understand very clearly that where that location is, not only the neighbors don't want anything other than a bar and grill type situation.
And like I said, the theme is more like, and I hate bringing up things Sonny's done, but more like a miniature sidelines. I don't want a place with 600 people. I want a place with 150 to 180 people. We're big in the softball community. I want my buddies from softball teams to come in, have a couple pints after a game, before a game. I want people to have a good time. This isn't about strippers.
Mr. McMillan, if I may, the theme here is not sports-related, is it? I mean, you could say a tight end for the Denver Broncos, but I'm looking at your menu, and that's not a Denver Broncos football player.
Let's be honest, in this business, in the sports bar business, in the bar business, sexuality sells. I mean, I'm not going to deny that, girls aren't going to be having cleavage shown. But there's going to be far more to see at a public pool than there will be inside our building. The tight ends theme, I came across a name in Texas, sports bar in Texas. Now, their uniforms are pretty provocative compared to what we're trying to do. I mean, we're in referee shirts, that might be cut down as low as my wife's shirt. Which you go to a grocery store, you're going to see stuff like that. Sports bar, you're trying to attract the, and I'm not trying to throw genders and all that. I know there's all those issues here, but you're trying to attract the crowd, what attracts them in. But we also have a cocktail menu that's female friendly. I mean, we want to have the females in there also. We want everybody to come in and have a good time.
So Tony, let me ask you a question just off the name itself. Mile High Tight Ends, being we're talking about women and men, Mile High Tight Ends, how many females are going to drop everything they're doing on a Friday or Saturday night to go to a sports bar named Mile High Tight Ends? And when you say that and you look at this picture here, the very first thing that came to everybody's mind, and I'm not going to speak for everybody here, but a majority of our minds, this was going to end up being another sexually oriented business. Best way to put it, strip bar.
And there was a thought behind that, to attract people to come in, but, my other option was the dugout, which I'm sure somebody could think something bad about the name dugout.
Would you be willing to sign something that stated that you and your wife wouldn't put in any kind of a strip or sex bar in that location?
Yes, sir. And I know the sheriffs do walkthroughs from working at RAC, so, I mean, they would know right away if that's what we're doing or not.
Do you have anything else?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We're still in discussion on this. And I guess I'll throw my 2 cents in here because comment that Commissioner Laird made earlier was you should give people second chances and you shouldn't really hold a relationship that a person has or has had with somebody in the past on what they're doing here in the future. So while I agree with that, the problem I have with this whole thing is that we do know what a track history has been with the bar that Tony has worked at, Mr. McMillan's worked at in the past. We do know what that, I know personally for 20-some years of what kind of issues took place within those bars. And yet today, still, when our building official goes out and does a walkthrough, the very owner of that bar that we've had problems with is doing a walkthrough. So I'm not holding anything against Mr. McMillan for the past, but the future today of the business that he's trying to start today, the very person that we have an issue with is standing right next to him. So that's where I have a problem. I have a heartache of giving a liquor license that once it's given to a person, it is very difficult to take that back. And if there's no way of putting a stipulation on it to say that these people can't be involved and this strip, it cannot become a strip joint, if I cannot do that, then I am 100% against issuing out this liquor license to the unknown. That's where I stand on it.
I guess my question would be for the county attorney, if he signs something, an agreement not to, as you've heard, not to have this kind of activity in the bar,
It wouldn't be enforceable. It's, a liquor license is all or nothing.
I don't have any further.
Any other discussion? Anybody want to make a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to approve the liquor license for Tavern LLC, DBA Mile High Tight Ends.
Motion's been made to approve Tavern LLC doing business as Mile High Tight Ends by Commissioner Nicolason. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Milne. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this is a very difficult one because we want to give the benefit of the doubt to the applicant if he meets the requirements, if they meet the requirements, Tavern LLC. And clearly they have. We have the duty to do our best to evaluate whether this is consistent with the public health, safety, and welfare. I am in full agreement that the sins of the father shouldn't be those of the son or daughter. But I also agree with the chairman that Mr. McMillan was employed by and apparently for some time managed racks, I believe, and we did have problems with that. So I am concerned. I appreciate the applicant's commitments to the community and to us tonight that this would not be a strip club and that Mr. Pilcher was not going to be involved, but I still have concerns.
Well, I have concerns as well. I like to pride myself in not being easily fooled by anybody. Over 52 years of practicing law, I've heard all kinds of things that people have said, and I have to look at their motivations, what's behind what they say. And in this case, this man has put a bunch of money into this place, and I sure don't want to see him lose it. And I think what he's saying he's going to open, there's a lot of those places here in town, and they don't have the name. I agree with the chairman about the name. I think he could have picked a better name. But it's an honest, what he said. I think what he said was honest as to what he's doing. And I tend to believe this young couple about what they're saying. Now, if they prove me wrong, I'm not going to be an easy guy to live with. But they've met all of the statutory and legal requirements. and the truth is legally, they could put a strip bar in there. And we just don't want one in there. And we're the county commission, we're about the only ones that can stop it. But anybody that has a bar out there decides to put a strip bar in their bar, I guess they're in the same position, they can do it. So, if you were all the jury, I guess I'd ask you what you thought, but I'm not gonna put that burden on you tonight, because you're here for your own important business. But I'm just willing, Mr. Chairman, to give people a chance. That's about my bottom line on it.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Milne?
I want you two to realize how concerned we are. We're not taking this lightly. This is a very heavy vote, for lack of a better term. I'm really hesitant to be in favor of you guys doing this. I have huge concerns that you'll fall back into past practice potentially. But I don't have any evidence to that. And I think you've met the burden that the state's asked to receive the liquor license. So, you know, man's got his word. Beyond that, everything else goes away. I hope you keep it.
Commissioner North?
I think this is one of those decisions that is right up there with some of our others that have been very difficult. Nobody up here wants another strip bar right in the middle of town like that. And, but I do believe in giving people second chances. I believe in your word. And I believe that if you break that, not only have you broken the trust of the board with the board up here, but you've broken the trust with the entire community. And I don't think that would bode very well for any business anywhere, because all the ones I've ever seen that have done that have quickly gone out of business for one reason or another. But I do believe that in what you say, there's a lot of businesses out there, a lot of bar and restaurants with a lot more suggestive names than this. And I'm sure everybody in the room here could name several of them, because several of them are nationally popular. Sorry. So, you know, the fact that you do already have a menu and everything else, I don't have any reason to disbelieve what you said, but I just hope that that you'll live up to your word 100%. So.
Charmaine, it just came to, I just thought about this. I don't even know how many years ago it was, but there was the Sandbar Lounge had an owner, of that bar, and when they went to renew the liquor license, there were stipulations put on it that individual could not have anything to do with the liquor license, the business, nothing. He was completely barred from it, and I can't even remember the gal's name that ended up
Yeah, I know.
getting the liquor license itself. But you could at that time put restrictions on a liquor license. So with that in mind, the only reason I'm even thinking about this is I believe in giving a person a chance. I don't like the situation that this is in right now. I absolutely do not, and I'll go on the record to tell you that. I do not like where this is headed. However, I would like to maybe talk about tabling this just simply to see if restrictions can be put on it. Mr. McMillan's already said that he has no issues in putting a restriction on it for not becoming a strip joint. And the second restriction I would ask is that there would be, this is something we need to research whether we can do, but there'd be absolutely zero involvement, zero money, anything on behalf of Sonny Pilcher to be a part of this business. He cannot be involved one penny. The way I look at it, he makes one penny off of that business, the license comes back, it's done. That's what I would like to look into. So I'm going to make a motion that we table it simply to look in.
There's a motion on the floor.
Okay, well.
Mr. Chairman, finish what you're saying, because I think we need to get the people back up here to ask them if they agree to that.
We have a motion right now in order to move forward with this. So let's take that, if you guys are okay with it, we'll take that off, except for he left.
That's the issue I was wondering about. Do we need him here since he's the one that made the motion?
Yes, he's required to withdraw it. However, you can vote it down if you're confident that would happen.
Let's do this. Steve, let's get the two of them back up here and ask them if they agree with what you just said. We can do that.
Let's do that first, and then have the
Okay.
motion.
Okay.
Oh,
Jesse and Tony, could you come back up here just for a second?
And just remember, you're saying this in front of the whole town of Casper out there.
Yes, sir.
Because if you, and it's recorded, everybody's listening to it on YouTube, because if you violate this, I think there'd be enough people to say, never go to your place again, and you wouldn't have any business.
Yes, sir.
I mean, we're taking your word here.
I guess the whole point that I want to make is that I want to take your word, but I have a hard time taking it, just simply because of where you've been and who you associated with and who you're associating with now in opening this bar. So that's where my heartache lies, and I don't want another license to go out there that we end up having problems with in the future. So, if in fact, and I'm almost positive that restrictions can be placed on it, the restrictions that I would ask, again, to reiterate, are it can never become a sexually oriented business. That's the best way to put it. Can't be an SOB. It literally would have to be a sports bar or something else, but it cannot become a strip joint. And the other thing is, Sonny can't have anything to do with it, period. And if he made one penny or invest one penny into that business, that license would come back to the county immediately, no questions asked.
Yes, sir.
Or if he works there. Do you agree to all
There'd
that?
be zero involvement.
Do you agree to all that?
Yes, sir.
I didn't hear your wife say that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we would need to vote down the original and then table it, correct?
yes.
Okay. So with the motion to pass, can I get a vote?
Is he coming back?
You can call for a vote. You can
I'm gonna call for a vote to,
And if it doesn't pass, then it's a dead issue, and then we can bring it up.
right,
Don't have to say aye, don't have to say nay, just,
Yeah.
nobody,
exactly. So I'll call for the vote on the motion on the floor right now.
To whether to give him a license or not?
all those in favor say aye.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No.
I mean, I am for it if he stipulates to the issues.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is the motion on the floor is to approve it right now, and if you say aye, you're approving it. So,
So I'm going to abstain from that vote. That's like a no vote.
okay, all right.
That's a no vote.
Okay. So all in favor, say aye. All opposed, say aye. Okay, the motion dies right there. Now, I will make a motion to table this until we can get answers. Are we able to do that, Charmaine?
I I think tabling it to May 2nd,
Yes,
a date.
yes. To a date certain being May 2nd, 2023, so that we have time to make sure that these restrictions can be placed on that liquor license as stated and agreed to the McMillans, and they agreed to in return.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Commissioner North. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. It'll be tabled until May 2nd, 2023. Okay, next order of business. This is the point that we're going to bring up the notice of petition to vacate a portion of West 50th Street and notice of petition to alter or vacate a portion of Grass Creek Road. And the easiest way to say this, we can listen to any comments tonight on behalf of this. We'll listen to your comments, but unless they were reduced to writing as of yesterday at noon, they had to be in writing for them to be taken into consideration. So we're more than happy to listen to what everybody has to say tonight, but unless it was in writing, we cannot, by law, cannot take those comments as part of our decision. So just understand that when you come up and want to talk about this, it had to have been reduced to writing. You should have got notice on that a couple weeks ago. It had to be reduced to writing as of yesterday at noon. So,
But, Mr. Chairman, we can hear it, and it can influence us. I mean, if somebody tells me something, I'm going to remember what they told me and how they felt about it.
Mr. Chair, no.
Well, it's impossible not to do that.
what this time is for you to come up and express your thoughts to us. Can we take that in consideration when we go to deliberate over this issue? No, we cannot. We can only take what's in writing. But we are opening it up, more than happy to listen to what you have to say. So I will open up the podium to whoever would like to come up and either speak for or against.
It's two different issues. There's two different roads you're talking about. They aren't even connected.
No, we understand that.
But the same rule applies.
Same rule applies to both.
But we need to know what you all think, so.
So if it makes it simpler, let's talk about West 50th Street first. So anybody that wants to speak for or against West 50th Street or has comments they want to make, please approach the lectern.
5 minutes.
Yep.
Nobody on 50th Street?
Okay, well, that made that one easy.
We're all here for the other one.
Okay, so now we'll take it to Grass Creek Road. Anybody that wants to speak for or against, please approach the lectern. And there's a 5-minute, just pay attention to the screen and try and get your comments in 5 minutes.
I'm Jack Branson. I live at 1709 Willow Creek. And I believe the commission has a copy of the letter that I did submit. Do this in order. It takes a little bit less time. I just bullet pointed it. First, we respectfully request that the above petition be denied. We further request that the commission order the barricade and obstruction at the intersection of Grass Creek and Lance Creek be immediately removed. The claim by Vista West Homeowners Association sent by attorneys at Schwartz Bond to me and other residents out there, which was included in an attachment to this, that the recent increased use was the reason for their desire to close access to Lance Creek. The roads in Vista West are in fact dedicated to the public, and there's an attachment of when those roads were dedicated. The claim of increased use is not supported by any objective evidence. For instance, traffic count 2021 versus 2022, anything like that. It was merely anecdotal. Access to Lance Creek directly from Vista West 3 is only possible now via the blocked Grass Creek Road at the intersection of Grass Creek and Lance Creek. That's access from the south side. With the road blocked at Lance Creek and Grass Creek, there's only a single access and ingress and egress point at 6WN and Willow Creek for Vista West 3. County's 2013 subdivision regulations, Chapter 1, Section 9, Roads and Access. The applicant may be required to develop and dedicate to the public a road or easement if the road would be a logical extension of an existing public road. At least one legal access from a public road to each subdivision must be provided. A second legal access will be required with a major subdivision of 6 lots or more unless an exception is granted by the Board of County Commissioners, which has not been done. And then it goes on about roads constructed in accordance with subdivision standards. Requirement number 7 above is to ensure ingress and egress to residents in case of emergency weather closures or some unforeseen circumstance. It also ensures that law enforcement, medical, and fire service have unrestricted access to the subdivision. And that road at 6WN and Willow Creek was closed a couple of years ago. We put sewer access in, so the roads had to be torn up. Is this second access important? In the case of emergency access by fire and rescue, response from the county fire station on Robertson Road to the Lance Creek, Grass Creek intersection is 1.9 miles. Driving time at posted speed limits is 4 minutes, 6 seconds. I drove this and timed it myself just a few days ago. From the county fire station to Ron Robertson to the 6WN Grass Creek intersection is 2.7 miles. Driving time at the posted speed limit is 5 minutes, 6 seconds. Now we think, well, they'd be running code. That doesn't change the distance involved. Obviously, it's going to change the time included, but it's still going to take longer to go all the way around 6 Mile to 6WN to Willow Creek to get into that subdivision. And the distance around the subdivision is 1 mile, and it takes 3 minutes and 30 seconds at speed to do that. The times and distances in item 9 reflect an increased response time when equipment is forced to respond from Robertson Road Station to the 6 Mile to 6WN to Willow Creek rather than Robertson Road to Grass Creek. That 1 minute difference can be critical as a home fire can double in size in the times between 30 seconds and 2 minutes. Now, take into account, we call 911, there's a fire. It takes about a minute to process that 911 call, assuming everything goes very quickly. That's then dispatched to the fire station on Robertson Road, assuming that they're not on another call. It takes about another minute for those to bunker up, mount the trucks, start out the door. Now another 2 minutes to get down to that fire. We're 4 minutes into a fire that probably has at least doubled. Or if it's a medical emergency, that's time that it takes those firemen who are trained medical responders as well to start giving aid and assistance to someone. Time is heart muscle, time is brain tissue in the case of a stroke. Those minutes are truly critical. That's not just maybe it could make a difference. How fast is it, how wide is it? We say it's between 30 seconds and 2 minutes for a fire to develop or to double. Depends on the material burning, the form and amount of material, ventilation, humidity, room use, size, all kinds of things in there. So if there's not a set time that it takes, fire spreads quickly. A fire probably has already been in progress for a few minutes by the time it gets noticed and reported. So again, that minute gets pretty critical. County subdivision regulations require a second access to Vista West 3, and the safety of all of the residents of Vista West 3 is a primary reason for those requirements. To comply with the requirements, all barricades now in place should be immediately removed from Grass Creek Road, and the petition to alter Grass Creek Road from dedicated to public to private, dedicated to Vista West Number 1 Homeowners Association should be denied. Thank you for your time and attention. Have you any questions?
No questions. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, as president of the Vista West 1 Homeowners Association, I am speaking in full support of County Planner Christy Turner's recommendations to you on our neighborhoods petition.
Sir, could I get your name and address? please?
Yes, my name is Bob Doctor. I'm at 7617 North Lance Creek Road in Vista West 1.
Okay.
Thank you. We are in full support of your county planner's recommendation regarding our petition. Altering the northern portion of Grass Creek Road, not vacating, altering as recommended, will provide greater safety to our residents while guaranteeing Vista West 3 residents a second emergency access point. First, I want to speak about why we submitted the petition. We're seeking to codify the road's historic use, providing an emergency connection between the two neighborhoods when Vista West 3's sole access point is unavailable. This portion of Grass Creek Road connecting Vista West 1 and Vista West 3 has not been maintained as a road and is not improved to the standards of either neighborhood's primary roads. And ironically, both neighborhoods worked together to construct a fence across the opening years ago as a means of addressing the challenges we're hoping to solve today. For years, we've experienced a high number of unlicensed vehicles, ATVs, four-wheelers, motorcycles, using this portion of the road as a shortcut, often significantly exceeding the speed limit and risking accidents with our residents. Increased traffic from non-residents increases maintenance costs paid for by our residents. The road was recently opened to Vista West 3 residents when construction blocked their access to 6WN Road. Residents reported problems with drivers speeding down the road. The problem was so substantial that the Natrona County Sheriff's Department stationed a deputy to slow drivers down. Increased traffic like this on a regular basis causes real safety concerns for our residents, especially for students traveling to and from the neighborhood's bus stop at the south end of Grass Creek Road. Second, I want to ensure that this board knows about the steps Vista West 1 took before submitting our petition. In addition to meetings with our residents, we also spoke to the president and several residents of Vista West 3 and received their support for our proposal. We knew this could have a potential impact on Vista West 3's residents, and we wanted to ensure that we addressed their concerns. When I spoke to their president recently, he indicated his support for our petition. I also met with former county planner Megan Nelms and former county attorney Eric Nelson, and in addition, we received information from Sheriff Harlan. All this before we submitted the petition. Finally, I want to speak to the issue of access to Vista West 3. The access point to Vista West 3 has historically been on 6WN Road. We agree that should that access point become blocked, it is critical that the residents in Vista West 3 have an avenue to enter and exit their subdivision, and that emergency personnel can enter the neighborhood from multiple points. As Vista West 3's neighbors, we want to ensure that they have the emergency services they need. We hope they would do the same for us. And so, we are fully supportive of your staff's recommendations requiring us to provide access to Vista West 3 residents and emergency personnel when it is needed. I've spoken with Vista West 3's president to ensure he's aware of our support and that we plan to do everything necessary to provide them access when it is needed. In closing, I want to thank you and your staff, many of whom are sitting here now, for your time in considering our requests, and I want to reiterate our full support for your staff's recommendations on altering the northern portion of Grass Creek Road. Please let me know if there are any additional concerns or questions I can address. I'm sure there are other people that would like to speak, and I made it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Pardon my cane.
pardon my cane, I spent too many years skiing, pulling toboggans off of Hogadon. I have 2 steel knees. My name is Don Walcott. I have been president of This West One for 3 different occasions since 1974. I've lived out in Vista West One for 49 years. I'm kind of the historian here. I purchased this property, built a house, moved in November 7th, 1974. I was the first house purchased from Western Land Development Corporation, a Barnard Realty company, according to the people that sold us the house. I'm just quoting them. Residential homeowners associations were developed from Barnard Farm, This West 1, This West 2, This West 3, and This West 4. Only 2 were connected by a common road in This West 1 to This West 3 by Grass Creek Road. It was a well-constructed road. It still is a well-constructed road. And it's existed from Vista West 3 to Zero Road through Vista West 1. Major concerns, pardon me. Grass Creek Road is a platted road, both in Vista West 1 and Vista West 3. Fact, Grass Creek Road has been a functioning road between Vista West 1 and Vista West 3 without restrictions until recently, with one exception, and I'll discuss that in a minute. As president of Vista West 1 Homeowners Association, I signed a document that dedicated the roads to the public, dated April 20th, 1995. The intent was to allow the Sheriff's Department officers to patrol our roads, keeping drivers within posted speed limits, especially on our gravel roads. Fact, homeowners in Vista West 1 created a major health hazard when they drive at an excessive speed, creating large clouds of dust on our gravel roads, visible sometimes a half a mile away. Dedicated roads in Vista West 1 provide legal protection, undue road maintenance, misuse of our roads, addresses health concerns, unquestionably access to homeowners' properties by maintenance people. The maintenance people that come into our development are like lights, gas, power, trash collectors, telephone, TV, etc. Dedicated roads allow supervised access to the south entrance of Vista West 3 through Vista West 1 as platted and is now dedicated also. Fact, on or about the year 1995, Vista West 1 was invaded by teenager, as I call them, whippersnappers, who thought it was a treat to spin cookies and that sort of thing on our grass roads, our gravel roads, with their four-wheelers and motorcycles. That didn't happen, but just that one time in a major sense. The parents of these young people who lived in Vista West 3 and Vista West 4 at that time were contacted by me. I asked the parents for their help in terms of stopping the road destruction, and I happily got it from the parents. From that time forward, no road damage has been done by four-wheelers on a noticeable basis. There's been some issues having to do with speed, but that's been taken care of. As a precaution, I received approval from both Vista West 1, Vista West 3 homeowners boards, the fire department, the sheriff's department, EMS folks to install temporary single wire release hook with attached white cloth strips
across Grass Creek Road. The intent was a temporary installation, was to remind our voting neighbors that we don't want further invasion of our little whippersnappers. Spinning donuts on Grass Creek Road and that sort of thing. Several weeks went by and that wire strip was removed and it was never put back and no restrictions were returned or put back on that road. In opposition, I oppose the current performance, the permanent fence and the negative signage, like dead-end road signs, private property, no trespassing sign, and encroaching on the road easement by Vista One West homeowners. The estimate of $33,000 to bring Grass Creek Road up to speed, up to accomplishment is bogus.
Mr. Wolcott, could I have you wrap it up? You're just past the 5 minutes here, so if you could summarize for me.
Let me do this. This past April 5th, 2023, I was removing snow from my driveway with my big John Deere tractor after a huge snowstorm, when two riders on snow machines went by me at speeds of 70 and 80 miles an hour. These two riders were neighbors. 15 to 20 minutes later, a pickup truck, two pickup trucks, and 4 deputy sheriffs came by looking for speeders on snow machines. Obviously, a neighbor called the sheriff. I almost got hit by the snow machines as I was cleaning my driveway. Conclusion is that our roads, which are about half a mile long in Vista West 1, Buck Creek and Grass Creek, have to be designated to the public so that we have this kind of protection. It goes, and the Grass Creek Road goes right up to the border of Vista West 3 and goes all the way down to Zero Road and can be made, and the base of that road is as good as any county road in the county. I oppose the restrictions and any other devices put in the road to keep it from being an access to Vista West 3. One of the issues that I did point out, and just to sum this up, is you can't nail shut the back door to Vista West 3, regardless of how often it's used by Vista West 1. Vista West 1 does not have the authority to nail the back door of Vista West 3 shut. Please, County Commissioners, remove the obstructions. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Bradley Olson. I actually own 1767 North Grass Creek, the area that they're talking about turning private. Moved into the location with my family in July of 2002. When we moved in, there was a fence that ran across this section and all the way down to 6 Mile. It was a woven wire with 2 top barbed wires. Was there when I moved in. The neighbor to my north at the time said it had been installed probably 10 years prior to me moving in. There's always been a fence there. The 21 years that I've lived there, I've mowed the section in front of mine. It's grass. It's not a developed road. On the Vista 3 side, it's grass. It's not a developed road. We both mow both sides. In about 2004, there were some high school kids in a car about 9 o'clock at night in the summertime, sped and drove through the fence. My neighbor to the north and I came out because it made quite a ruckus. We put the fence back together best we could because it was, like I said, it was a woven wire and a couple barbed wires. There was openings because people walk their dogs, they ride their horses through, there's no issues there. It was just trying to keep the traffic from the motorized vehicles down is what he told me. About 3 weeks later, it happened again, and tore the fence up pretty bad this time. So with him and I, we went through and we rebuilt the fence. It's a split rail, cedar split rail, 2-rail fence, nothing serious. If somebody needs to get through it, they can drive through it pretty easy, and the fire department was fine with that. It's got an opening so you can walk your dogs, you can ride your horse through it. It's been that way. It's that exact same fence. It's been there since 2004. About 3 years ago, I had a neighbor to the north. He's got a bunch of little kids, and he wanted to improve the fence because we had four-wheelers and young kids, 12 years old, riding their dirt bikes through there, and they were spinning gravel in my driveway and in his driveway, and he wanted to improve it to make it to where motorized vehicles couldn't get through as well, but still allow the horses and people walking their dogs and that kind of stuff. At that time, Vista West 3 board approved that they would pay for a new gate and a fence to limit the access. In the entire time I've lived there, there's never been car traffic, travel traffic. It's all been foot or horse. We did have problems with some youngsters in the Vistas getting dirt bikes and driving back and forth. I'm not sure why this got to where it's at. It's been a fence ever since I've been there, and it was there 10 years prior with the previous owners. I think I'm on my 4th one now, to the north. But I'm in favor of turning this to private and still allow emergency services. That's never been a problem. When we've talked to firemen, they don't want to come down Grass Creek because it's not a maintained road for emergency services. We don't plow it very often. We don't maintain it gravel-wise because we're an association. We have to pay for it ourselves. It's not done by the county. And from what I've been told by emergency services, it's faster to go down 6 Mile and come in the other way. I've also heard that the subdivision requirements 2 entrances, 2 exits. If I'm not mistaken, that statute didn't go into effect until 2013. So to say that it's a requirement by the county, you might as well drive around that whole area because there's several subdivisions that have 1 entrance and 1 exit, and it's the same one. So I don't know why all of a sudden this became an emergency, got to have it open, got to turn it to the road, because I don't know where the association's going to come up with the money to make it a full-time road, nor do I think it needs to be. I guess with that, if you got any questions, because like I said, I've lived there for 21 years and it's right in front of my property.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I'm Scott Talbot. I reside at 7362 Fiddler Creek, which is on the very south end of Grass Creek Road. Thank you for your time tonight. I've submitted written comments, and I don't have a lot to say that has not already been said. Certainly, these roads were dedicated to the public in an effort to try to control traffic, whether that be unlicensed drivers, four-wheelers, children, and jalopies, all of that type of stuff. I've lived in the location where I'm at for 25 years. I have been the irrigation chairman for 23 of those years, and I know, Dallas, you don't think that I'm even 25 years old, but I've been within a few yards of where we're talking about for 23 years, checking head gates almost on a daily basis, certainly on a weekly basis, and many, many times during the summer. As Brad Olson just mentioned, in the summertime when it rains, I've walked through there many times. I've ridden horses through there many times when I was training horses, and there's no road base whatsoever there. So if that was to be opened up, which it has not been, and I would tell you that in my 25 years experience, there has always been access through there, whether you want to walk or ride a horse. I used to take my kids through there all the time. I still walk through there on a very regular basis, but vehicular access, the only time that I'm aware of any vehicles that have been through there is when it was referenced that the private construction company tore up the road in Vista West 3. They tore down whatever fence was there. at the time, and then had those vehicles drive down Grass Creek Road. These are private roads. They're dedicated to the public. They're private roads. We pay for the maintenance of these roads. We pay for the snow removal of these roads, and certainly the safety of children standing at right in front of my house at the bus stop on Fiddler Creek and Grass Creek, safety of pets, livestock, and certainly our quality of life is something that we, as a homeowners association, have tried very, very hard to maintain. And following the recommendations that are in front of you, I just want you to know I support that fully and don't think that this needs to be opened up as a public road. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Scott's the former director of the Wyoming Game and Fish Commission. He knows where all the good, he knows where all the good fishing and hunting is.
Is there anyone else who wants to make a comment?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Ann Robinson. I live at 1923 Grass Creek Road in Vista West 3, and that's been my home for 45 years. In this picture with the illegal barricades that are up now and the dead-end sign that are by Mr. Olson's house, this is my house. So I'm very close to it, and I have a lot of history from them. I have been asked to speak for several other people, so I'm asking if I could have some additional time to do that.
Excuse me, could I see a picture of me?
Sure.
I can't see that far.
You can take them, and there's... The other one is a picture of the sign that's on the post that says it's private property, no trespassing.
I would ask that you try and keep it as close as you can to the 5 minutes, if you could.
Yep.
All right.
Could be a little closer to 10. Would you allow me that leeway?
No, because if I do that, then
I'm speaking for several people, and I asked in the commissioner's office, and they said that that would be a good possibility if I was speaking for several.
Give her my 5 minutes.
The reason, okay, let's stop the clock for a second. I just want to explain to everybody, the reason we set that rule is because people did that and they said, oh, I'll give them my 5 and my 5. And pretty soon I got somebody talking for 20. Then somebody else comes up and they want to talk for 10 or 20. And so we need to try and keep it as much on the 5 minutes as we possibly can, so.
Well, and I timed it at home, and it looks more like 10. I would like permission.
All right, let's start it again at 5. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. The Vista West subdivisions were developed in the 70s and 80s, and they would be considered what is high-density rural residential areas. We all have traffic noise in our subdivision. We all have vehicles of all kinds driving past our homes. We have the same 60-foot road utility easements running along every street in all of the Vista West subdivisions, and that includes where the road runs in front of Mr. Olson's house and his neighbor's house in Vista West 3 that's set on the boundary. When they were platted, Grass Creek Road was a gravel road from Zero Road to Willow Creek Road, which ran the full distance of Grass Creek Road. The subject road, the connector segment of the road at the border, was part of that gravel road. The road now appears to look more like a two-track due to the illegal barricades that have been put across the road that prohibit any traffic from getting through. If you don't use a road, things are going to grow on it. They were talking about it being in grass. I think it's more like, most of it is like weeds, and the only reason it would be grass is if the people there planted the grass on the road. Ms. Turner, in her report did mention that Mr. Olson's driveway is encroaching on the road and that there needed to be a survey to correct that problem. When our daughters were growing up in Vista West 3 in the 70s and 80s, they could freely travel between Grass Creek Road into Vista West 1 to visit their friends. And when they were in high school, they could drive there if they wanted to go visit their friends in Vista West 1. The two lots adjacent to the road have been cited by Vista West 1 as the necessity to keep the road illegally barricaded. Those homes border the same right-of-way that we do. They both have the same setback restrictions. Every lot in the Vista West subdivisions have the same setback restrictions, and there is no justification for treating those homeowners any different than us. The safety of 48 homes and families in Vista West 3 should be the driving force behind your decision regarding the petition. We are asking that you consider what you would do in regard to the petition if your children and grandchildren lived in Vista West 3. We don't believe that you would favor a plan that allows Vista West 1 to create danger for your family or your neighbors' families by preventing emergency responders to reach Vista West 3 in the quickest response time. I have a copy of the report that was sent to Ms. Turner from the fire district stating that the road needs to be open. They stated that the response time to Vista West 3 is 5 to 7 minutes longer because they can't use that road because of the barricades. They say nothing about the road needing to be improved. It's fully drivable now, and if it were driven on, the growth wouldn't be there any longer. The road needs to be open to those emergency responders, and that in 5 to 7 minutes can make a huge difference if your house is burning or if someone is having health problems, if a child's trapped in a room that they can't get to in the house. There are so many things that could happen. I don't believe the owners in either subdivision who support the petition because they're concerned about a few more cars passing by their homes want to assume the responsibility or the liability that can result from closures or restrictions of that road. That road has never been closed, it's never been abandoned, it's only been illegally barricaded by people in Vista West 1. And I don't believe that you want to make a decision that might prove to be harmful to the 48 homes and families living in Vista West 3. The approving the petition to alter or vacate it, in the report it says 186 feet, but what they're asking for is to alter 20 feet of the road, which indicates clearly that their intention is to close the road off. They're saying that they will have it open for emergency responders. In order to do that, the gate will have to be 20 feet wide. They're talking about, in Christie's report, she mentioned that it needed to be wide enough for a standard vehicle to get through, which is not adequate for emergency responders or for most of the people living in Vista West 3 who every household has an SUV or a pickup that would need to get through there. Right now, the opening is 5 foot 8 inches. If you decide to go with the recommendation, I'm asking that the illegal barriers be removed until the required gate is installed. I'm asking that the gate be no less than 20 feet, that the use of Vista West 3 homeowners to use their Grass Creek point of ingress egress will not be contingent on their only other point being closed. Vista West 1 has mentioned in some of their correspondence that it's a matter of fairness. If our roads are private, they should be able to have their roads be private. But the effect of it is totally different. If we closed off that road right there, Vista West 3, it would not impact the safety of anyone in Vista West 1 at all. They have 3 other ways to get in and out. They have one kind of blocked. But with them being able to close it off, which if you change it from public to private, that gives them, and I got this from Christie too, that if you let them change it to private, that takes any ability for you as commissioners to regulate it any further because it's a private road. With it being public, you can protect our safety in Vista West 3. And their intention has been clear to close the road off. They've done it illegally all this time. They know right now, because of Christie's report, that it's illegal. And I wrote 2 letters to the commission, I don't know if you saw them, on February 14th and February 20th. I sent letters addressed to the commission. They went to legal, and they asked you to have the illegal barriers removed, because every day they sit there is another opportunity for it to cause serious consequences to people in Vista West 3. So
How long has it been barricaded off?
I'm not sure this last time, and it had to come down. It was just last year that it had to come down. I'm not sure how long they've had it barricaded the way they have it barricaded, but I know that it was put there after the road was dedicated to the public, which made it illegal. And that is in Christie's report, that anyone who obstructs a public road is subject to prosecution, to fines, and to jail time. And they have ignored that. They are in no more danger than anyone else, and we can't close the road in front of our house because cars drive by or motorcycles drive by or whatever, and they should not be able to do that either because they're no different than we are. And the road is passable, you can drive on it.
Thank you.
And I'll answer any other questions somebody might have.
We can't ask questions, we can only listen to you, so.
Okay. Well, thank you.
I forgot that.
Dallas forgot that
Thank you for
rule.
the leeway.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Well, I get 30 minutes, or what's the new rule, 15?
5 minutes is a rule.
I'm speaking for several people.
So this is exactly why we have these rules in place.
So follow your own rules.
Okay,
It
5
helps-
minutes and I will be cutting
Helps
you off.
everybody. I don't need more than 5 minutes. I've bulleted point the letter that I wrote to you.
All right.
Okay?
Could I get your name and address?
My name is Carrie Amy, and I live at 2034 Willow Creek Road in Vista West 3. I think most of you are quite aware of it. I got a couple of points. Vista West 1, Vista West 3, very different, totally different associations. We've got a lot of characteristics that are very different. So please, when you are thinking about all of this, keep that in mind. Is Ms. Turner here? I've never met her. Christy, is she here? Thank you. I know we've been a lot of fun, all of us. Can I clarify one thing that we've talked about? This is part of my 5 minutes, I guess. On a private road, On the private side, we can have a gate, right?
That is my understanding.
Okay, that is our understanding also. I'm not going to try any fear tactics on you here, but I am going to talk to all my Vista West 4 people and all the people that live out there that say they are in grave danger. And I'd also like to add that our monthly board meeting, 3's monthly board meeting is tonight, so a lot of them are not able to make it. My husband and I purchased our home in Vista West 3 almost 29 years ago. It's a quiet neighborhood, a nice place to have raised our children here in Casper. It remains a rural area, and as such, most of us recognize that there are differences between a home in the downtown areas and our home. Vehicle traffic into and out of Vista West 3 has always, as long as I've lived there, been limited to the Willow Creek entrance off 6WN. The easement between Vista West 1 and Vista West 3 had wire across it, which kept traffic limited to pedestrians, bicyclists, ATVs, and horseback riders. In 2009, as dirt bikes and ATV drivers had increasingly become a safety hazard, within Vista West 3 at least, I know it was 01 also, discussions about what it would take to be a fully gated community resulted in a compromise, the erection of the current wooden fence, which enabled curbing such traffic. All our roads in Vista West 3 remain private, including the section, the part on the other side. As such, our road maintenance is paid for solely by the homeowners who live there. In addition to adding to our safety, blocking the easement from vehicle traffic keeps down the cost of our road repairs. Currently, we are looking at over $300,000 for a soon-to-be needed 2-inch overlay of our 1-mile circle. This is not something we care to do very often, and if you increase traffic, which will happen, because why would I drive down 6 Mile where it's paved, there's a sheriff that lives right there, when I could just go up Grass Creek and get right to the airport? I could go, that's going to be a real quick place to cut off a lot of times. Because our roads are private, speeding tickets and other moving violations may not be issued within Vista West 3. The children playing on our roads and people walking or riding around Vista West 3 enjoy a somewhat quiet atmosphere because we are not a thoroughfare. The best way we have to minimize the traffic is to keep the easement gated. All our emergency vehicles in Natrona County use a mapping system. I assume you know this, but it indicates no access across the easement between the 2 Vista West subdivisions. This mapping system keeps emergency responders from mistakenly using Grass Creek in Vista West 1 to reach Vista West 3. Please note, each of the 3 roads making up the Westgate subdivision, which is right next to Vista West 3, have only one entrance, and both of our subdivision roads were completed long before the county created the 2013 regulations. After speaking with the Mills Fire Department, it is clear that the Mills and Banner emergency services naturally reach our subdivision from the Willow Creek entrance. Vista West 1's half-mile of Grass Creek Road before this short easement is not paved or maintained like 6 Mile Road is. Should the main entrance be unavailable for whatever reason, the easement would allow for a quick emergency alternative, but it is arguably not the best way to reach Vista West 3. And since I've only got 18 seconds, I want to thank you again. These are the high points of my letter. I would like to thank the folks, Mr. Olson and the Wallens, who live in this area. They deal with a lot of traffic, ridiculousness. When that gate was down for that little bit of time the water project had it wasn't fun for them. It wasn't. I want it to continue to be a nice, quiet neighborhood in Vista West 3, and I think there's another option. My letter sort of says it a little bit more clear. There's another option for you to consider. When I talked to Christy why she hadn't considered that option, she said because of Vista West 3 is not a part of this discussion. I think, as you can see, Vista West 3 is very much a part of the discussion, and the majority of homeowners that I know and speak with would appreciate your assistance going forward. So with that, do you have any questions for me? No, you can't ask questions.
Can't ask questions.
But just because it was asked, let me be clear, for the almost 30 years we've been there, that road has been closed.
Thank you.
One way or the other. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. My name's Perry Hirschberger. I live at 2147 Grass Creek. I'm not going to bore you with my feelings or anything else. What I am going to bore you with is the county statutes, Section 9, page 5, that says there will be 2 entrances into a subdivision with more than 6 homes. And if you let this one go, what are you going to look like when somebody else steps up here and says, oh, gee, we want to close this road off? Somebody was right when they said there's other places in this subdivision or in these subdivisions that only have one ingress and egress to their properties. We're not talking about those tonight. What we're talking about is what's right. The subdivider did due diligence when he subdivided this area. He made access for those streets as he was supposed to do. And right now you're being asked to do away with that. That's all I've got to say. I'm in opposition of this petition. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in on either side of this issue?
My name's Helen Osterman. I live in Vista West 3, 1885 Willow Creek. I've lived there for over 30 years. And when we moved in and bought our house there, it's right, it never was a main road or a finished road or anything like that.
Well, have you hold on just for a second? Your microphone went out, so.
We can't, it's a little hard to hear you.
We'll get it figured out one of these days.
The clock is not, it's still ticking.
It is, but it's not.
You're okay.
Do I need to start with my name and everything again? Okay, I'm Helen Osterman. I live at 1895 North Willow Creek in Vista West 3. We've been there for over 30 years, and when we moved in and were given the plots to where we live and all this kind of stuff, we knew that that was a road that was there, but it was not a maintained road. And that we were told that it was there for emergency purposes, that it wasn't going to be there for through traffic, and that it would probably never be maintained as such. I think the point that everybody is missing here is when they say the word emergency. Yes, they're right. A year or so ago, our main entrance was blocked off, and they had to open it up, and so that we could get in and out of our subdivision. The thing is, if there's an emergency, that entrance and exit that we have might be blocked, and we not have any warning that it's going to be blocked, and that be the only way in and out. Let's face it, roads out there that aren't maintained, or two tracks, or like you're going across the prairie or whatever. That's Wyoming. If it's because kids are riding their four-wheelers or mini bikes or whatever back and forth, and the parents need to step up and get on them. I mean, when my kids were of that age, we had to, and they were told not to. But the thing is, to have it blocked off in such a way that emergency vehicles, in case of a real emergency, can't get through there if there's no other access for whatever reason, then we could have some real issues. And that's the only thing that I'm worried about. Real emergencies. It's like, emergency by definition is not something that you plan. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Rosemary Saban, 9460 West Zero Road. I'll comment on this issue because it kind of goes hand in hand with the land use plan that I've been squawking about repeatedly. This is what happens when you subdivide property further and further out away from the development where the infrastructure is, and you get people out there and then you get squabbling. If you don't want to deal with dirt and dust on a dirt road, don't move on to a dirt road. And when they're talking about emergencies, it's not just the emergency vehicles coming out. Remember when that house caught on fire right there on the corner of 6 Mile? The people that want to put up that barn for special venues and everything, that shop of his caught fire. Lucky for him, lucky for all those people, the wind wasn't blowing that night. That's an emergency. Where are those people going to escape to? There's supposed to be two means of egress to get in and out of a subdivision. It's clearly a subdivision. That's my 2 cents on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to make a comment? Okay, this portion of the evening was meant to hear your comments. We have the written comments that have been submitted to Christie in her office, and so we will take all those written comments into consideration in making a decision here. So I appreciate you all coming out. Thank you. Thank you. No. No, because I don't think we're clear on that. Not tonight, because it's comment only, yeah. Yeah. Just so everybody knows, the meeting's not over, so if you're only here for this, we can have you go out in the hallway. No problem. And then we're going to move right into public comment. If anybody from the public has any comments, feel free to approach the lectern. Yes, ma'am. Well, we are going to have a discussion with the planner, and then we'll have a date certain coming up soon. But right now, we're not exactly sure when it'll be.
Thank you.
Here in the near future, you bet.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, I suppose you want name and address as well?
Please.
So Austin Burgess, 615 South Beach, Casper. I've stood up here last year talking about trail plans and stuff like that. Been working diligently. I'm with the Central Wyoming Trails Alliance, working diligently trying to get the Kalen Master Plan. I think a few of you have seen this master plan or heard of this. I know it's not been passed through the advisory board yet, but I just want to take this opportunity so when it does come across your desk, please take a really good look at it, which I know you guys are going to, and consider this for adoption so we can get moving on some much-needed recreation additions to Casper Mountain. And on the volunteer side, I know this is going to be a plan that's going to bring up some questions about cost and stuff like that, but I'm not going to waste any much more of your guys' time. I just want to let you know that this will be coming hopefully sooner than later. This has been far too long by sitting on desks and too much conversation being on it behind the scenes, and hopefully when you guys see it, we can make a really good decision on that. Thank you.
Okay, anybody have?
I have a question, Mr. Burgess. So are you in favor of adoption of that plan?
Absolutely. In fact, we had a CWTA, which is the Central Wyoming Trails Alliance board meeting, and we have a unanimous support of that. We just also recently put that plan out on social media. We've had over 267 likes as of about 10 minutes ago, or views on that. So we're reaching out in the community a lot as far as whether it's positive support or negative support. A lot of people are seeing that, so we can have a lot better idea about if this is what the county and the community wants to move forward with.
You've been involved in the Trails Alliance for a while.
Yes, sir.
What do you like best about the plan?
The organic nature of the plan, allowing a lot of moving parts in that, allowing the volunteer side of it to be able to be completed on a kind of a restricted basis, so it kind of holds holds us accountable as a volunteer organization, as well as spelling out some much needed information such as, costs associated. I know there's some information in there that needs to be updated. I'm not sure if Kalen was certain exactly on pricing and stuff like that. Anytime, of course, we do pricing, it has to be adjusted, obviously, to market value. And then the other thing that I really like about it is the fact that it gives phases of projects and gives the county an idea of what is going to be going on in that property.
Do you think you and the public, at least the people you're talking to, would be supportive of the county hiring a grant writer to apply for some federal funding for this to implement some of these things?
Actually, very much so in favor of that. The people that I have talked to and in the group that I'm involved with, we are definitely wanting to see moving forward with that. In fact, I've had some meetings with some of the grant writers. I'm not going to be dropping names or anything like that have approached Mike Brown, and I'm definitely in favor, and I know our organization and other organizations are definitely in favor of getting a grant writer on board so we can get the language written to be able to acquire these much-needed funds.
It's my understanding that a grant writer might cost between $10,000 and $20,000, but that the grant funds might be up to $750,000. Is that ballpark of what you're?
That's my understanding of what I've heard as well.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, don't remember yet. The project for the trails, is it hiking, biking, motorcycling, skiing, snow machine? What kind of trail system are you?
So this trail system or this trail plan is a non-motorized soft surface trail system. It's going to, I wish you guys had the plan in front of you, but like I say, there's been a little bit of delays on that. It is primarily a hiking, biking, equestrian, running. It's an addition to the trail system, or the Eadsville Trail System, if you will, if anyone's familiar with that, which is up on Casper Mountain, expanding that to the McMurray Park area, expanding that also to the Bear Trap Meadow area, connecting connecting the campgrounds for families to be able to access those trails from their campgrounds directly onto the trail system, providing a very unique matrix of trails. I know trail saturation has been a hot button topic. I like to use the term that we have trail diversity in Casper. We're one of the very unique areas where we can have alpine trails all the way down to desert trails in town. So as far as this plan is concerned, it's a non-motorized soft surface trail system. For the wintertime use, it also allows us a lot of other areas that we could potentially groom. In fact, our organization grooms the single track trail system to be able to have another avenue for grooming and winter use as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Austin?
I'm just curious, how will this, do you think, be received by residents that live on the mountain?
Being that this is already a developed park, the biathlon center is already there. Recreation is already a epicenter for this area. I think the residents, I would hope that they are supportive, but doing possibly a trail charrette or doing a public comment period to find out exactly what those residents actually, how they would react, I think would be definitely vital to the decision of this project.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Rosemary Spawn, 9460 West Zero Road. My cup runneth over today. There's just too much to think about, so I'll return next session. A man's got his word. Beyond that, he has nothing else. That's what you said earlier. It's true, and that's good. I commend you. I also would like to thank you guys for not taking it unseriously, the deal with the liquor license. You're considering the public. It's a hard decision. I got mixed feelings as well, so I thank you for that. As far as the parallel I'm seeing with the whole land use plan, I will take my time so that I'm not rude and disrespectful, and I will come back and I will hopefully get you guys to understand why that needs to go to the wayside. But I did ask on February 7th, why were those provisions removed, and I still haven't got an answer. Okay. I'll leave it at that tonight, gentlemen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? All right, we'll go Commissioner on the table. Commissioner Laird.
Each meeting, I get more proud of serving with you guys. And I like hearing from our people.
Commissioner Norris.
I don't have any comments tonight.
Commissioner Milne.
Sure, why not? Everybody else talking. No time in me. It's 7%. I get to 100. No, I just wanted to mention, so the legislature, they're going to be having a lot of intern committees, talking about a whole lot of issues this year. We need to really keep an eye on those, on what they're discussing. With the new state building here, a lot of those committees will be local, so we can actually sit in there. They're real easy to comment in. You just have to let them know that you want to talk to them. But there's a lot of issues. Some of them could be up to increasing state sales tax or removing the exemptions, such as ag exemption for the state sales tax, to offset potential property tax revenue drop if they did any calculations on adjusting that. So we really need to keep an eye on what they're doing in those interim committees as well. I would like to thank the governor and state legislators for passing House Bill 185. It's the distributions to local government, appropriation of funds to the local governments. Many of the towns throughout the state and cities and local counties, cities, all of them, really depend on a lot of this money coming back to them, returning. I don't think there was, or there is, some understanding of where that money comes from some of the state legislators down there that voted against it. But luckily, it did pass the Senate, and it did come back to the local governments as it well should, instead of staying with the state. It's too bad some of those voted against it and wanted to keep that money with the state. The blown barn that disappeared, tried to go leave the fairgrounds, the most recent one, it will be replaced by CNFR time, so that's good. I'd like to thank the efforts of the Fair Board and all those fair employees on all their efforts of getting that put together. And that's the long and short of it.
All right, thanks. Commissioner Nicolason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the public for showing up. Thank you to the public for disagreeing but not being disagreeable. We need the public to weigh in on these issues because there are almost always multiple ways of looking at these issues, and we certainly, as your representatives, want to do our best to serve you. So please always show up, send us comments, send us emails if you can't make a meeting. I feel like we had a little bit of a setback on the Casper Mountain Trail Center with regard to the bids coming in way over the architect's estimate. But I think this commission and this county are committed to getting it done as quickly as possible, but still being good stewards of your money. I personally am going to push hard to try and get down to a number that's reasonable and then figure out a way to pay for it. We finalized tonight the deal for the acquisition between the city and the county for the acquisition of the 12th and Commonwealth property. That's a big deal. There's a lot left to be done for the health department building, but that's a big step. And I was over at the city, and I thanked them on behalf of the commissioners and the county for being participants in that and being good partners in that. We're going to have some opioid funds coming in over the next couple of years, and I hope that the public comes up with some creative ideas on how we can utilize those funds to make our community better. We heard today from the Collective Health Trust, and their mission is to serve youth and the mental health of our youth in the community. And I appreciated them coming in today, and would just hope that the community reaches out to the Collective Health Trust and Beth Worthen and her group to give them ideas for how to best utilize their funds for our community. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
I just want to echo with the lodge itself, that came in quite a bit above. I do want to see that project move forward as quick as we can, but at the same time, the cost just isn't there. We need to figure that out and get those costs down. As far as the opioid money, I agree. We do need input from the public. Those are restricted funds. There's certain things that they can be used on, so we'll certainly put that information out when we can. The only thing I would ask of the commissioners is each of you are on different boards here, and I'd like to see if we can either use this time or summarize after each meeting what happens, the important facts behind it, so that we can report those back to the public. And I know some things like water board may not have a lot today to talk about, but We are each on those boards to represent the county, and I think it's just important that we bring the information back to the public. So, so if we could summarize that at this time of each meeting, that'd be great. Other than that, I don't have anything else, so